Let's just have some general information about Buddhism. People ask questions. We already touched on the fact that the word Buddha or Buddhism comes from the root Bud, which means awake. So Buddha was the man who woke up. It's important to know that he was the man who woke up. He was not a Messiah. There was nothing supernatural about the Buddha. He was a human being. He lived to be in his 80s. He taught until he died, which was a long time, 2,600 years ago. And he always made sure that people understood that he, as they put it, was not the moon, he was the finger pointing at the moon. So you were not to revere him. You could revere him, but you weren't to worship him. I said that incorrectly. And so he said, no statues, no paintings. This held for between 500 and 600 years. Now there's a Buddha everywhere. There are great big 3-story Buddhas, and there are little charm bracelet Buddhas, and there are little painting. There are Buddhas everywhere. Because his image is calming. He may talk about suffering, but when you look at him, you see the liberation from suffering, the peace. There's no agonizing there. He has transcended this basic human condition and still remained a complete human being. He had a very scientific mind. He wasn't interested in beliefs or concepts that were non-evidential, or however you say that. He really believed in skepticism. And he has some very important teachings, one in particular, which comes from a story of he went to talk to a group of people. I can't remember the name, sounds like Kalampa. And they said, what do we do? First one person comes in and he says, believe this, and then the next person comes in and say, no, don't believe that, believe this. And, we're confused. We don't know what to believe. And he says to them, don't take anything on blind faith. Only when you have paid attention to it and practiced it to the point where you can say, yes, this works for me. This I can trust. This I can do. Then you've made it yours. And that's where you can say, okay, I believe in this. But don't take it on anybody's word. He said, don't take it on my word, don't take it on your parents' word, don't take it on your teacher's word. You have to make it available for your own use, for it to be real for you, a reality for you. Anything less than that is spiritual phony baloney. Of course, that's how Ram Dass puts it. But holy phonies, phony holies. Don't do that. So I like that. I like that idea of asking questions, of not being cynical, giving it a fair trial. And if it rings true for you, that's yours. Then it's yours. Okay. So anyway, so he's like, I'm going to give you the teachings. This is what I have found out. You can take them or you can leave them. And the other thing is there's no dogma. You don't have to say, I believe in this, that, or the other thing. There's a reason why he says what he says. He says, look, we're the same as a doctor. The first thing is do no harm. Be nonviolent. It's not easy to be nonviolent. But every time you do violence of any kind in your speech, in your actions, whatever, anytime you do violence, you are diminishing yourself. You're not going to make enlightenment if you keep taking one step forward and two steps back. You're just going to create bad karma or consequences in your life and in other people's lives. You're going to make them suffer. So you don't want to do that. So no dogmas, not a messiah. He was born in either a prince in a small kingdom. There were 16 kingdoms in the area now called Nepal in India at the time, or a very high magistrate's family, but very upper doing. And his mother died when he was a week old. And his father became he was his only son. He became a very, very over-concerned parent. And he also had been told by an oracle, which they had oracles in those days in Greece and in Asia, had told him, your son will grow up to be either a great secular leader or a great spiritual leader. Well, his daddy didn't want him to be a great spiritual leader. He wanted him to be a great secular leader, a king, because he already had a kingdom, and he had only one son to take it. So he went out of his way to provide a paradise for his child. Even anything that was ugly or distorted or sick or whatever was kept away. It was not allowed in that kingdom. And he was actually pretty well grown up, I think in his 20s, when he left the kingdom for the first time. And when he did, he saw three things that changed his life. He saw an old person. And he'd never seen an old person before. His dad, who was getting old, I guess, but he didn't notice it. But he saw a really sad-looking old person, and he saw a sick person, and he saw a dead person. And he's like talking to his servants, and they're saying, oh, well, you'll get old, you'll get sick, you'll die. And he's like, what? It's like it never occurred to him at this point. So this changed him completely, and he went on a spiritual path. But he wanted answers. He didn't want beliefs. He wanted answers. And so he took a very scientific bent. And that is held till today. Einstein is often quoted, which he did not ever put it in writing himself, but he did mention it, and it was reported in journals, that he would say there is only one world religion that is compatible with science, and that's Buddhism. His name is often connected to Buddhists. You'll see books. I have one in there, Buddha and Einstein, because they both were interested in relativity. And when you get to that point, you'll find out that the Buddha said form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And what he's saying is E equals MC. He didn't square it. But he's saying that space and material are interchangeable. That we are made of energy. We're energy beings. We're beings of light. And this energy can't be destroyed. You can't create it, and you can't get rid of it. It can only be transformed. And this was his central thing, was the transcendence of the sensual life. The life that allows us to move through space is our senses. And we tend to think they're the important thing, but they're not. What's beyond the senses just give us the ability to get around and to experience things. Okay, so anyway, that the two are interchangeable, that we manifest as material beings out of what we call empty space. And that when we die, we go back into that space. and then we will recycle. We're continuous recycling, basically. Everything is cyclical. You can't destroy energy. So he didn't believe that you would come back as you yourself right now, but you will come back. You can't be destroyed. You have to become something else, and you have to remanifest. So, but this is relativity. In its energy and matter are interchangeable. And one morphs into the other, and then it remorphs again and again and again. So there's that. So no dogma, not a messiah, human being, very scientific in his approach. That's held till today. The current Dalai Lama is way more interested in science than in theology. In fact, one of his more recent books was called Beyond Religion, and is talking about the fact that religions have not changed enough over the course of time. They've become outdated. But the ethics should never change. The basic ethics remain eternal, so to speak. When you say everything changes, you don't use eternal, but anyway, you know what I mean. And someone recently asked him, what would you do if Buddhist cosmology, their belief in how things operate on a physical level, if they were proved wrong? And what would you do? And he said, well, we'd change our cosmology. Well, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If you can prove it's wrong, so far, we're doing pretty good. But any day, it could be something totally different. And you have to change with the facts. And so he was very much into that rather than into a belief system just for the sake of belief. The teachings of the Christ and Buddha are very, very compatible. The churches, not so much. So we kind of stay in the West. We pretty much treat it as a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's a way of life that says, you know what? I think I like myself a lot better if I'm not a killer, a liar, a thief, a drunk or drug addict, or a sexual harasser. I like myself better if I don't do those things. So I really don't have that much trouble with the precepts, And that's about the size of that. Now, do our second normal meditation that we do. We begin either with a mindfulness or a guided meditation, and we always end with a metta meditation. When we end with the metta meditation this time, please really try and be aware of how it makes you feel. It's a very, very emotional meditation. It has very deep roots into our own psyches. And if we actually embrace how it feels, it will keep opening us up. Right now, we're being asked to shut down. Metta meditation says you can open completely up. It doesn't matter if your body is shut down. We are not our bodies. With love, we open and open and open. And this is what we go back to the beginning when I said where we place our minds is the direction of our life. So if you make loving kindness or simple unconditional friendliness your ground position, what the Buddha calls a Brahma Vihara, a sublime dwelling, an elevated dwelling where our minds and hearts live, your life is going to be cast in a very, very positive direction. So there are 5 people in this particular meditation. The first is yourself. You always begin with yourself. You cannot give from an empty cup. So you work first on loving yourself, and then you move outward with an abundance, an overflow of that emotion. The second is someone you already love very, very much. The third is a neutral person, someone that you maybe pass on the road and wave at, but you never really knew their name. You just know they live somewhere in your neighborhood. Or someone who waits on you, someone with whom you're familiar but you're not intimate at all. The fourth is someone with whom you're in conflict, someone that you either don't like or they don't like you, someone you have a grudge against, living or dead. Might be somebody who's been gone for 20 years and you still can't let go of ill will. And so it's just someone with whom you're having a fight, whatever, somebody you're in conflict with. And the final one is expanded out to the whole world, to not only this world, but all other worlds. So each of these little well-wishings moves you out larger and larger and larger and larger and larger into space. And when you get all through, you kind of want to absorb the feelings that you get from that and try to carry them forward into your everyday life. So get into your meditative position, comfortable, balanced, centered, stable. Drop your shoulders, open your chest. To transition from outside and all this conversation to inside, just take a few deep breaths. Sharon will ring the chimes. To yourself, say to yourself, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. Now bring to mind someone you love. Look at them, say their name to yourself, smile. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now to your neutral person. If you don't know his or her name, simply address them as friend. And say to them, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we turn our attention to someone with whom we're in conflict. Take a moment. You've established feelings of goodwill. Continue them. Bring them to mind. Bring this person to mind. Look at them. Smile. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. And then, with another deep breath or two, we release that person. We put our hands over our hearts, symbolically to embrace all sentient beings everywhere. And we say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. And now, when you're ready, release your hands, open your eyes, check how you feel. Know that the truth at the heart of all creation is love. It's the most powerful force in the world. And if you abide by no other dictate than to be kind, you will be okay no matter what happens in the world. So now, please put your palms together. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ruthie.